Okay, healing from trauma. How interesting. As I stand here, I have a big pricker. Ow, that's interesting. The one spot that I find good light. You know, I'm rolling with it. I got a pricker in my side. It's perfect, actually, because that's like a beautiful metaphor for what I'm about to talk about. Healing from trauma. It's not that the trauma necessarily ever goes away completely, like a little pricker in your side, right? But what we do is we learn to heal the wounds as we move forward. Now, I feel like I could do a video on this like every single day of the year. I mean, it's such a huge topic. But in one short YouTube video, what I want to go over is 2 very powerful steps that can help you really work with the trauma that you're healing from. Now, first of all of us have trauma, right? We all have some extent to it. And what I want you to get really good at is feeling in your field and feeling in others' fields where you can, this is what you do as an empath, or it's what I do as an empath all day long, and now we can just make it conscious, is that when you meet people, you scan their field energetically and you can feel into what are their wounds, what are their pains, you know, what is it that comes easily for them and what is it that they're healing. All of us here on planet Earth have trauma, have wounds that we're healing. The first really important step that I think is crucial to dealing with trauma is validation. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. I was in New York City during 9/11, and right, incredible. Oh my God, this is hilarious. Sorry, I'm just working with this here. Little pricker wouldn't allow me to lift up my arm. Okay, still got it stuck to my back. This is awesome. Wow. Okay, we're rolling with it. Literally rolling with it. Okay, anyway, when I was in 9/11, there was, right, trauma, obviously, like horrible, awful event. Anyone who was there or anyone who just experienced the news, like now the news is a traumatic experience. You watch it, you're there, you're in the experience of being a part of that event. So it was intense, right, during those days. Anyone who knows those days or remembers those days. But the real trauma for me happened in the 6 to 9 months afterwards, even the year, where there was just this tension, right? Like, will we die today? Will there be an anthrax attack? Like, it wasn't like, you weren't thinking if there's going to be a bomb. It was kind of just like, well, when is the next bomb going to happen? And part of that time, I remember I was just crossing a street and there was like a really big dump truck and it went over a manhole. And I'm sure you know that sound. It goes dunk dunk, like it's really loud. And I remember like, oh, this is the bomb, I'm gonna die. Now, what is it, 17 years later? It's what is it? It's a long time, right? I don't even know, 2001? Oh golly, I can't even do the math. It was a long time ago, right? And so even now, when I hear a dump truck go over a manhole, I think a bomb's gone off, right? Like that's just where my neurology goes. The first and essential step to healing from trauma is validation, right? So I'm programmed, I'm conditioned, I'm cultured to go, well, don't be silly. It's such a dump truck. Why did you have that weird response? Like, you know, God, you didn't know anyone in 9/11 that was killed. Like, why are you so upset, right? Like, I was just kind of like where a part of us might go because we're not actually trained to support ourselves in trauma. We're actually trained to kind of like, just keep it going. You know, like I see it with my son. I see it in my parenting where whenever he gets upset, right? Like just this morning, he didn't want to go to school, right? So it's like a perfect example. He's feeling upset. And what's so conditioned in me is to just be like, come on, right? Let's just go out the door. Let's just go out the door. Well, I've learned that that is the least efficient and actually not traumatic, but it's not supportive for him. So what do I do now? I sit with him and I say, you really don't want to go to school. I really hear you. Like, I miss you and I want to see you and I can't wait to pick you up at 3. And I hold him and I carry him to the car. I still hold my limit. He's going to school. But I validate him where he's at. Now, the reason I'm doing that is definitely because I want to create that experience for my son. But I'm also doing it for myself. For all the times in my life when crap comes up for me, hard feelings come up for me, trauma experiences come up for me, and I want to get really, really good as a love being, supporting myself. The first instinct that I have is to validate. Whew, okay, you're feeling some pretty intense emotion right now. Why is that so essential? Because for anyone who's ever had a panic attack, and I remember my first panic attack, my real first, honestly before that I was always like, why is everybody so upset? Just deep breath, breathe, do some meditation. Oh golly, those are the days, right? And then I had my first panic attack. There's no meditating. You can try deep breathing, good job. You just kind of like hold on and you wait for the neurology to calm down. You wait for your 3D vessel to kind of ground itself, and it does pass and everything is good. But what I learned in that moment of my first panic attack, which is related to trauma because I was healing from the traumatic event of my son's birth, is you got to be as gentle as possible. It's like, what do you need, honey? You need to sit down? You need to listen to some music? Doesn't matter. Let's just, what do you need? What do you need right now? Because you want to just like with my son, right? I know that if I hold him, if I carry him to the car, I could shove him in the car and be like, we got to go to school. Come on. Which is kind of what what was done. It's just like, you got to be firm. These strong-willed children, you just got to shove them in. Everybody was doing the best they can back then. It's okay. But now we know if we this is how I know, because I'm working with a lot of men my age in my practice, and if I'm not working with them directly, I'm working with their wives, and there's a lot of rage issues right now. There's a lot of men out there who can't connect my age to their emotions because they were never supposed to. They were never allowed to. They were never told to. It was always like, sit down, shut up, get in the car. Come on. We gotta go. Come on. Just sit down, right? You weren't encouraged to feel crap. Now, as a woman, maybe I was allowed to feel a little bit more. Anyway, we're doing it differently now, and we're doing it differently as we heal from our trauma. And that first stage of validating, letting yourself be gentle and kind and a love being to yourself. Okay, wow, you're feeling some intense emotion. So I'm going to tell a little story about the reason why I'm doing this video this week. It's a real exciting week. Now it's exciting. Sunday it was not. I'll get to that. We're moving into our house. We bought a house 6 months ago. We haven't been able to live it. Mold again, check my video out. We're moving in Saturday. And Sunday, I start freaking out. I go to the house. I'm visiting it. I get totally sick. It's raining, right? Because anyone who's had mold illness, that's a whole other video. But I'll just keep it short and say I just was feeling sick. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to move into this house. I can't move into this house. This is horrible. What are we going to do? And I started looking for rentals, and I started, right, just like, I'm going to have to move again. I can't believe this. I was spiraling. What was I doing? I was in a trauma response. Now, I knew it. I knew what was going on. That helped a little bit, maybe. I mean, honestly, these are the trauma responses. You just got to kind of roll with them. You got to be as loving, as kind as you can, because my neurology, right? My neurology was going back to literally a site where I had a trauma. And the trauma was getting sick, very sick, unable to walk, sick in a home. So I'm going back to the home, and I'm like, there's some trauma there. There's my neurology, my beautiful, amazing, strong body is going, get out. We've been here before, right? Now, you've had this kind of response when you've gone on a date, when you've gone on a job interview, because you haven't gotten the job before, because you have had a person that's broken your heart. Heartbreak is a very common theme of trauma, where a lot of us are healing from that still, from a trauma when we were 4 years old, right? It's all in our imprint. Okay, so I go back to this house, and I have this trauma imprint, and I am just... for days, I'm just like, I'm doing my deep breathing, I'm doing my meditation, I'm doing my self-care, but I'm scared because my first chakra as a mom has been challenged. I might not have a home on Saturday. Where am I going to go? And I need a radiation-free zone. There's all these things that I need just to sleep, right? So it becomes like this real issue for me. Anyway, I'm getting all like worked up, right? And my neurology is like getting all pumped, right? Even as I go back to it. Now, what happened was a very beautiful thing on, I can't remember, Monday night. So it was like 2 days, Sunday and Monday. I was just like, panic central. And then Monday night, I was asleep, trying to sleep, right? Just lying there for hours and hours and hours and hours. And I had a beautiful visitation. Now, was this my subconscious mind that was coming in a different form, of myself? Maybe. I'm not really totally sure. But I had a visitation. I don't really care, actually, because it worked. I had a visitation of the land energies of the property that we bought. And they said, you need to live on this land right now. And I said, okay, great, thanks, but you got to keep me healthy. They said, fine, we'll do that. I said, okay, all right, fine, do that. My little, right, the trauma part was like, yeah, right. Anyway, so I get up the next morning and I like have this whole new reservoir of energy, and I'm like so excited. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'm going to go back to the house. I haven't been in the house in a few days. I'm going to go back to the house, and I'm going to spend a lot of time there. And I worked at the house with my husband getting it ready. I spent a long time at the house. Wasn't sick at all. Next day I went. keep going back to the house. I'm totally fine. This brings me to the second step. Second step is we must receive a frequency shift. However that comes, we got to shift the belief systems because those belief systems will eventually affect the neurology. Now, how does that work for you? That's a question that's actually really important to think about. And as I ask you this, you'll get downloads right now, trust them. For me, it had to come into a dream, right, of land energies, because that's how it's going to communicate to Josephine. That's how, if I read it in a science article, I'd be like, whatever. But if I get like a visitation from a land energy in a dream, I'm going to be like, this is real. It's going to shift. It's going to move my belief system. And then my neurology is going to sync up. I'm going to remove that imprint. Another powerful way to do, which I've had this done, I don't do this as a healer, but I do know people who do this. So if you want this, just email me and I'll send you someone who's really good, is an energy imprint removal, where you have someone go into your field and literally remove the imprint of the trauma. I had that with the trauma of my birth when I almost died giving birth to Teddy, and it's amazing. I mean, it really does, because I believe it does, right? So if you believe it does, then you'll resonate with this and you'll pursue this. I believe that it removes energy imprints, and so then it does. Two very powerful steps in healing our trauma. One, validate them. If you're freaked out, if you're upset, if you're angry, you have every single right. And then two, receive a frequency shift. And however you do that, maybe you go for a weekend away, maybe you go to your favorite healer, maybe you soak in baths every day for 20 minutes. I'm talking to a group of people now actually that you know what you need. So I'm just going to say that, and you're going to know now. I want you to have a protocol that when you, because now I know what my neurology is like when I'm having a trauma response. It's undeniable. Oh, here we are. Okay, I'm freaking out. And it's this ripe opportunity for us to love ourselves, to have compassion for ourselves as we extend compassion for others who are also going through this, because a lot of people are right now. I'm setting the intention that this video gives you enormous relief and comfort and gives you a protocol. So when this comes up for you, you've got a strategy and you've got a way to find a greater sense of comfort, relief, and healing. JosephineWilkins.com. Come check it out. We have got a lot going on. I've got a club membership. We have weekly calls. You get meditations. You get assignments. You get a community. It's really, really amazing. Please check out my book on Amazon, Love Beings, and give me a 5-star review. I'd be so grateful. And pass along this video. If you know of someone that is a trauma therapist, if you know someone who's in a traumatic healing event, pass this along. It will help them. We got to get this info out there. We've got to become more compassionate and loving to ourselves as we all heal all of our wounds. Lots of love. Have a great day.